Hi there, welcome back. We're talking about polynomials, and specifically we're looking at how to solve polynomials that are in a factored form. And as a reminder, what is the factored form of a polynomial? Well, it's exactly the form where we have a product of factors that equals to 0. Here you can see this in sort of more mathematical format where we have a set of factors. So here we have 4 factors and they're shown by these parentheses. Each parentheses is a different factor. So this will be factor 1. This will be factor 2. And here we have factor 4. With obviously factor 3 right there. And so we have factor 1 times factor 2 times factor 3 times factor 4 equal to 0. The important thing is that we have our polynomial in a form that is given by a list of factors here. They are combined with multiplication, right? They are multiplied, so it's a product. And importantly, the product is equal to 0. So our polynomial equation is in that form where it is equal to 0. So when we have that form, and we have an example here where we have factor 1, we'll write f1 is x minus 5, and factor 2 here is 2x plus 4. Their product, multiplying the two of them, equals 0, right? So that's important. Now, what do we do in order to solve this type of equation? Well, what we do is we make use of something called the zero product property. And I wrote that out here. So the zero product property is that if A times B equals 0, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0 or both A and B equals 0. What does this mean? Well, let's just write that out again. If we have A times B equals 0, we know that either A equals 0 or B has to equal 0. Why is that? Let's say A equals 7, okay? Well, if we then what can B be in order for us to get as a product 0? Something times 7 has to be equal to 0. Well, it has to be 0 because no other number multiplied by 7 will give 0. And the other way around is true as well. What if we have B equals 5 and we have A times B equals 0? Well, then A has to equal 0, right? There's no other number that when we multiply it by 5 will equal 0. This is really, really important, and if it's not 100% clear, stop and think about it for a moment. If we have two numbers and we are multiplying them and their product equals 0, it means that one of them, if not both, have to be 0. How does that help us? Well, let's look at this example. So we have x minus 5 times 2x plus 4 equals 0. So we have this combination of A times B, right? This is our A and this is our B. And we said that if A times B equals 0, either A equals 0 or B equals 0. What does that mean in this case? Well, if A equals 0, then we have x minus 5 equals 0. If B equals 0, we have 2x plus 4 equals 0. Well, once we have these two smaller equations, we have an easier time solving because now we have two equations that are given by a single factor. So here we know we can add 5 to both sides, right? And we get x equals 5, right? So that's one solution. And here we could subtract 4 from both sides. We get 2x equals negative 4. And now we can divide by 2. So we get x equals negative 4 divided by 2, which is just negative 2. And since these two x's, these two solutions, make one of the factors equal 0, right? This one makes a equals 0, and this one makes b equals 0. These are actually solutions for this combined equation. So if we insert x equals 5 here into our equation, we get 5 minus 5 in parentheses, which is just 0. And so then we have 0 times these other parentheses here, but that obviously equals 0. The same thing if we take x equals minus 2, negative 2, and insert it, substitute in b in 2x plus 4, so we get 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4, plus 4. Negative 4 plus 4 equals 0. So now we have our b equals 0, and so we have 0 times x minus 5. But 0 times anything is 0. And so that's how we solve for a polynomial equation that is in the product, the factored form. So let's look at another example now. And in this example, we'll ask a different question that you may have seen before, and that is the question about find the zeros of a function. And let's use the function f of x equals x squared minus 2x. So first of all, let's talk about what find the zeros means. Well, find the zeros of a function means that we're asking which x's will make f of x equal 0. So that is the definition of a zero. Okay? Definition of the zero of a function. Which x will make f of x equal 0. So we're not looking at x equals 0, we're looking to make the function equal 0. So that is the definition of finding the zeros. So now we're looking at f of x equals x squared minus 2x. And since we're looking for the zeros, we're going to say we're looking at solutions of the equation where f of x equals 0, or x squared minus 2x equals 0. So let's write that out here. X squared minus 2x equals 0. Now if you look at this equation carefully, you'll see this is not in the factored form yet, right? This does not look like a times b equals 0. Not yet. But let's sneak in another little tip or trick in this video, and that is the trick of looking for common factors. So we're going to look, are there any common factors? Okay. And if you look at the two terms we have here, we have x squared and we have negative 2x. The common factor here is actually x. Okay? So yes, we have a common factor and it's x. What does that mean? Let's write this out a little in more detail. So we have x squared, which is just x times x, minus 2 times x equals 0. You see here we have x and x. So we can use that as a common factor. Remember the distributive property where we can take something out of a parenthesis. So we can write this as x times x in parentheses minus 2 equals 0. Why is this correct? We have x times x, that's our first term, and then we have minus 2 times x, our second term. So together we get our equation. But now what we have here is an equation, right, of a polynomial in that's factored form. We have our a here and our b here. And just a reminder, we might have a situation where we have more than 2 factors, but for now we're going to stick with just 2 factors. And here's, again, we have a times b. So either a equals 0 or b equals 0. If a equals 0, that means x equals 0, right? Because a is exactly x. If b equals 0, we have x minus 2 equals 0. That's our second factor. And if we add 2 to both sides of this equation, we can get x equals 2. So these are our two solutions. X equals, we can write this out as x equals 0 and 2. And if we substitute either one of these values for x into our equation, back up here, and you can take the time to do that, you will get the solution 0. So these are the zeros of our function f of x equals x squared minus 2x. Thanks for joining me again. If this video was helpful, please like. If you haven't checked out the rest of this playlist for factoring polynomials, please take a look at the other videos. And I hope to see you in my next video. Thanks.